We'll just go straight in for it, shall we?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, welcome to A Long and Long Time Ago. My name is Adam, and I'm here with Martyn.
Hi, guys.
Well, let's go back to last week, because I got a little bit of sort of admin to clean up, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, you made a mistake, have you?
No, not a mistake. Well, I suppose kind of a mistake. So yeah. I just wanted to actually add one more show to it that I'd completely forgotten about, which is ridiculous because it's just one of my favorite shows out there. Community. I don't know if you've seen it. It's
never seen it. Heard of it, never seen it.
Yeah, it's one of those that sort of only started picking up traction in the last few years, I think, really. Well, maybe a bit further back, actually. But started in 2009. They've got some ridiculously good writing. Like, the episodes just... Okay, it's another comedy, so might not be up your street, but they do several episodes that are paintball episodes. I don't want to spoil it too much, but they are like the best. They're, the pinnacle of the series, of each series. And in series 2, they did a Western paintball, but it was a 2-parter, and it kind of moved on. And they make like a quip. We're moving out of the Western now, and we're into more of a Star Wars theme. So it's just it's a good paintball episode. And then the enemies in the paintball are all dressed the same in white, and they're obviously made out to be stormtroopers.
City College is trying to destroy Greendale, and they're an unstoppable juggernaut. Which means if we're gonna fight them, we have to form a school-wide alliance of rebels.
In other words, it seems we've left the Western motif and entering more of a Star Wars scenario. Oh. I know, I wish it happened sooner too.
Cool. Anyway, I had to put that out there because it is without a doubt one of my favourite series of all time. And I'd recommend it to anyone who's into comedy.
Well, I mean, I would offer to watch it, but whenever I've tried to get you to watch something, there's point blank, no, I'm not watching it. So
yeah. I don't know. I've given some sort of try on some of them.
Well, I mean, this last week there was another new revelation. Adam, famous for not ever wanting to ever watch Lord of the Rings and has never seen Game of Thrones and has no inclination to watch it, also announced this week that he's never seen Harry Potter. So the list is gaining traction.
Well, I mean, that's not strictly true. I've seen the first Harry Potter film, and by God, it just bugged me. There's the child actors. We've spoken about it.
It's fair,
but grown up, they can't act, let alone.
No, it's the story though.
We're going to lose a lot of listeners. I don't like.
Yeah, talk Star Wars.
Exactly that. Yeah. So yeah, going back to last week, we mentioned about the arms getting chopped off, and somebody's written in and said, you are correct. It is to do with their weapon hand being chopped off. So that's something you got right, yeah. And then we've had a listener question as well from Aaron, who has informed me that he's only seen the original trilogy, and that was when he was a kid. So he wants to know which movie or TV show would we recommend he watched as a newbie to the Star Wars universe. Is like his tastes in TV shows and films are John Wick, Punisher, so he likes a little bit of
violence,
a little bit of darkness and violence. Yeah, so I mean,
we're
I don't know if you want to take that out. Do you think?
Well, I mean, we're both going to pick the same thing here. Surely, he wants a bit of darkness, a bit of violence. Okay. I mean, there's a possible 2 to choose from, but yeah, I think if he's watched the original trilogy only, then for me, it's got to be Rogue One, hasn't it?
I mean, I'd say Rogue One based on the fact that it's our best film.
Well,
but in terms of darkness and violence, is it up there? Because I'd go as far to say I was going to pick the Obi-Wan series
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because of some of the moments in it. If he likes John Wick, he's obviously into his martial arts and things like that. And there was that moment that we spoke about, which was like kung fu, Vader doing the kung fu sort of thing. It just, yeah, that's what it sort of reminded me
Yeah,
of.
yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. But I mean, if you want real darkness, then surely you'd have to go for Revenge of the Sith, because I mean, there's nothing else out there as far as I'm concerned that doesn't have as many dark, twisted scenes as Revenge of the Sith.
Mm,
But for somebody who's asking what film or program should I go into, having not seen
yeah, I think
anything other than the original trilogy, I think it would be difficult to go into Obi-Wan, and it would be difficult to go into Revenge of the
I
Sith
was going to say,
because,
yeah, Revenge of the Sith, you do need the rest of the story
yeah,
to
and
understand, really. So,
and
yeah.
you also need Revenge of the Sith for the Obi-Wan series, I would argue as well. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
um,
Yeah.
I think you could probably skip 1 and 2 and then watch episode 3 and then Obi-Wan. That would probably get
Hmm.
you where you needed to be. But
But
Aaron,
yeah,
I would suggest that Rogue One.
yeah, Rogue One.
Yeah, yeah.
As we said, both of us have said it's an
Mm,
absolutely fantastic film.
mm.
So,
Well, and then obviously you could then ease into the Mandalorian after Return of the Jedi.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think would be my next choice.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
just to
good.
clear the sequels.
And the prequels. But yeah, moving on.
Oh,
We so I don't know if you want to get started on the next bit we're going to be talking about, but you took part in a auction for a lot of Star Wars collectibles, and I think you better take over from here because I have no idea what it was all about.
okay. We're just far away with any questions as I'm sort of going through it. But
Okay.
yeah, my of all people, my mother-in-law sent me an email, and she gets a newsletter from a local auction, which is about half an hour away from me here,
Right.
and it said huge Star Wars haul, in auction. So
Yeah.
I thought, oh, what's this going to be? It's going to be a couple of figures. Yeah. But no, I opened the email and we're talking tens of thousands of Star Wars items that
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing some collector had decided to get rid of.
Move on. Yeah.
And his entire collection was up for sale.
Right.
And
So that whole auction was from one person, pretty much.
I
Do you
mean,
know?
I've had.
Or?
Well, one of my collect friends, Justin, texted me the other day, and I told him about the auction, and he told me that it was from somebody who had, decided to get rid of their whole collection. So,
Right.
basing that information on secondary sources, I've heard that it was one guy
Mm.
who'd sold it all. So yeah, and I mean, what an epic collection, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I'm sure as the podcast goes on, we'll put up some pictures, perhaps, of some of the things. But yeah, I mean, as soon as I opened this up, I was a kid in Candyland.
Yeah.
I just wish I'd won the lottery that week because I could have bought everything,
Yeah.
absolutely everything.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. So where was the auction? Was you said it was fairly local to you, didn't you?
Yeah, it's in a little village called Willingham,
Right.
it's Willingham Auctions, and it's a really lovely little place. In a little village just outside of Cambridge.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, I've been there a couple of times for auctions with family members, and it mostly just sells antiques as most
Mm.
auctions do. But I thought, right, I'll get on this. So I fully intended to actually go on the Saturday that it
Right.
was on. So it was the Saturday just gone, and I'd had my list of things that I was going to buy, and an email came out from the auction house saying that we request that people go online and do the auction online. And again, I heard this for a secondary source that the reason was they'd had so many people come to
Right.
view the lots during the week
Yeah. Yeah.
that they were worried that they wouldn't fit half the people into the auction room for the auction itself.
Wow.
Yeah, and I can't imagine what things people were coming to look at.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
But I mean, it certainly wasn't the antique chairs and the
No.
vases that were for sale. So
So the whole auction was completely that Star Wars collection. There was
no,
nothing else there. Oh,
no,
right.
no. There was kind of the first 560 lots, I think it was, were your regular auction
Right.
items,
Okay.
Jewelry, artwork, that sort
Did
of
you have
stuff.
to sit through all of that?
Well, I logged on at 10 o'clock in the morning because that's when the auction started.
Yeah.
And I think they were on lot 30 by the time I'd logged on. and I was like, I thought, well, he kept saying, "Oh, I'm on the auction. We're not going to get to the Star Wars stuff till a couple of hours or an hour."
Right.
But I thought, I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to risk it because if I'm not there watching it as it's happening, I might miss some of the things that I'm interested in bidding for. So I ended up sitting there from 10 a.m. till nearly 1:30
Oh my God.
in the afternoon. I had it on in the kitchens so I could do stuff while I was listening to it. It wasn't like I was just sat in front of it, but so I was sat there waiting for it to come along, and it was basically 3.5 hours before they finally got to the Star Wars items or the lots. And
nothing piqued your interest before that, then?
Well, I mean, I have to say,
antique chair.
Well, there was something that was quite encouraging. Was they obviously, when they put something up for sale, they put an estimate next to the object. Like if it's a bit of jewelry, I'm sure they have professional estimates. So there was gold rings and diamond rings that were saying £800 to £1,000 estimate, and some of these things were going for £400. And I was thinking to myself, well, that is either a sign of what's going on in the world at the moment in terms of cost of living, etc., or it's a sign of hopefully everybody's not really going to spend too much when it gets to the Star Wars stuff later on down the line. Unfortunately, I was wrong about that, as we'll find out, but it was a bit encouraging to start with that these things were going for a lot cheaper than they should have been. And ultimately, a couple of diamond rings and gold rings went through, and I was kind of thinking, "God, if I had the money, I should have bid for those because
turn a profit."
Squirrel those away for a few years, But it eventually came round to the Star Wars lots, and of course, the first one I bid for was about 40 in, so I still had to wait through some of the things. But I mean, each lot was salivating, some of them were 60, 70 carded figures, and just to give you a rough idea of the sort of Star Wars stuff that was there was episode 1 figures, episode 2 figures, saga
we're
collection.
Talking vintage collection, are we?
No, we're just talking ranges of figures.
Right, okay.
So there was an episode 1 line, an episode 2 line, a saga line. There was the vintage collection. There was carded vintage Kenner from 78 to 85.
Wow.
There was vintage Kenner boxed vehicles and Palatoy. There was Power of the Force, Power of the Jedi lines. There was artwork. There was plushies. There was there was Lego. I mean, if you can think it was there. I mean, there was candy dispensers. It was crazy. Walkie talkies. You name it.
Some serious gear then.
Yeah, I mean, he must have been an everything collector. So if he saw it, he just bought it because there was absolutely everything. And I have to say, as auction houses probably do on purpose, each lot had 1 or 2 gems in it. With a probably what I would consider a lot of filler. So stuff that particularly wasn't that sought after was made up the bulk of each lot. And then there was a couple of real gems in there that, as a collector of certain things, I thought, oh yeah, I need to get my hands on those. So some of these things were, absolutely fantastic. And I mean, I did write, I hope you don't mind, can I go through I picked out 3 lots that what happened before it came to the ones I bid for.
Of course, yeah.
One of the lots was lot 660, and I'm not sure how many it was, but it was a lot of loose Star Wars figures ranging from 1978 to 2011. And so that means obviously you had all of the vintage Kenner and Palatoy right up to vintage collection, the stuff that I collect behind me, and everything in between. And it was all loose, so not carded. And I did actually put an auto bid in for this one, and I put a bid of £280 in, thinking, that's a lot of money. I've got a good chance of winning this. I could win this. Anyway, it started. I think it was £580 the bidding, and so I was out of that immediately.
Yeah,
and it ended up selling for £2,800.
Blimey.
Yeah.
What was in there that made it that pricey?
Well,
do you know?
I was really intrigued. So, and I'm not an expert on the old vintage figures. I mean, I know a little bit of stuff, but I looked at the lists 'cause in each lot on the website. It listed every figure that was in there, and there was lots of obviously vintage Kenner and Palitoy, but there was nothing in there that made me think. Like there wasn't a vinyl Jawa in there, for example, which, if you don't know, was a Jawa that was released before they changed it to a fabric cape. And they're really rare because they didn't make them after a short amount of time.
Okay.
And there wasn't any other figures like that. But then I read a bit further on, and again, I'm sure there's collectors out there who will correct me if I'm wrong, but there was quite a lot of Droids figures, the original line of the Droids cartoon figures that Kenner released. The vintage collection have brought some out recently as sort of reissues that we went through on a previous podcast.
About them, yeah,
that's right. And from what I understand is those are so rare, especially one or two of them. I think I can't think of their names, I'm afraid, that I'm guessing that might have been the reason that they sold for such a high price. I mean, the old figures just on their own do loose with weapons, if they had weapons, do sell for a fairly good price, in the modern day market anyway, but not £2,800. So I'm making an educated guess that it was those Droids figures that did it. But I mean, when I went to pick up my lots on Tuesday, yesterday, I went in there and the whole auction room had all the Star Wars stuff in it, and one of my lots was on a shelf just above the lot of all those figures, the lot 660, and obviously, I didn't touch any of them, but I just had a look at the box.
Over,
well, there was right there, the box there, and oh my word, it was just a box of joy. It really was.
How big are we talking? Like, is this?
It was a pretty big box,
old sizey box. Yeah.
It was quite big, but obviously they're loose, so you can fit a lot of figures in there. Yeah. And I think it might have done something because I've got a little bit of an itch.
Oh no!
And, yeah, I know, and I've got a bit of an itch. Like I want to collect the original '96 original figures, not carded. I could never do that, but just loose. And that yellow background on the back of the cards we were talking about. Yeah. I'd like to kind of try and create that in my Star Wars room somehow.
Okay.
But I mean that's later on down the line and perhaps not for another podcast. It's got me giving me the itch to collect all my childhood toys again.
Wow. Yeah. So is this the first time bidding at an auction? Have you heard of this sort of thing come up before? Or
there's an auction house called Vectus, I think it is, and I have all done that a few times online, and I've managed to get a few vintage 78 to 83 Kenner / Palitoy items from that before. But I mean, I only usually bid because I usually do it individually, you see, and I can't afford to buy a pack of 10 figures or whatever. I every now and again I'll buy just one figure, but I haven't done that for a long time. So it's not my first auction, but this is the first auction that I've been heavily involved in the bidding, more so than previous times anyway.
Immense. Go on.
No, I was gonna say I know we haven't got a huge amount of time, but I've got a couple more lots, and I'll be really quick with these ones. Lot 682, that was a rare blue snaggletooth, which was loose. Now, a quick
on its own. That just on its own,
just on its own, loose, yeah. And this figure, there was the snaggletooth was an alien that was in the bar in A New Hope in the cantina. And in the film, he wore a red outfit and was quite short. But before Kenner made the figure, they hadn't really used the film as reference for this figure. So they brought out a slightly taller figure in a blue outfit. And so it's known as the blue snaggletooth. After a very short amount of time, they scrapped that design and brought out a more screen accurate, shorter red snaggletooth. Now, those blue snaggletooths, again, are very, very rare to find.
Difficult to get hold of that.
Yeah. So I can understand why someone bid it for this, but looking at the pictures, it wasn't particularly good condition, I didn't think. The paint wasn't in very good condition, yet it still sold for £240 loose on its own. I mean,
what sort of price do you think that would go for carded then?
Carded. Oh my word. Do you know what? I don't want to say because I don't know. I don't
All
want
right.
to give false information. Maybe we can do a we can do
Do a bit of
a
research before we
yeah.
get
And in the
into that.
beginning, in the next episode, we can sort of fill that in. But
Yeah.
a carded one would be a lot. Let me put it that way. I mean, I could throw a figure out there, maybe £800,000. I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe more. Not
800
even
to £1,000
yeah,
pound. If you're listening and that got a little bit lost in your ear and you're thinking he's saying 800,000,
yeah,
no,
no.
just 800 to
Um,
1,000.
but now I'm thinking I might even have to correct myself because I'm not even sure it did come out carded. I think it might have come with a set, sort of like a play
Okay.
set.
Mm,
So I don't think it actually did come out as a card, which makes it even more rare.
right.
So I'll
So
double check that
280
information.
might have been a really good price.
Yeah, really good price.
Yeah.
And as I say, he might not have even wanted it. You know, like I don't buy stuff particularly for the value. I want it to complete a collection. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter to him maybe the paintwork. But yeah, I was really surprised that for that to go at that price. And the final lot I wanted to bring up
Hmm.
was lot 683, and it's a figure we've talked about loads. Yak face.
Yep. Yak
Um,
face.
yeah, again, this was loose. It came with a weapon, its weapon, and
Yeah.
it looked pretty immaculate.
Hmm.
Um, and as we said before, this was a figure that was only released in Europe. It wasn't released in the US. So it was carded, but it's extremely sought after because obviously the numbers are quite low, and it was never released in the US. So there's a lot of
Mm.
American fans that want to get hold of it. Now this one sold for £220, which
Wow.
at the
That's
time I was like, that was quite a lot of money, I thought at the time. But then actually looking into it afterwards, I found a graded one. So yes, it had been sent off and been graded.
mm,
So there's a slight cost to that, but not a huge amount. But that one sold for £1,000.
wow. Yeah.
So so
And that was loose as well, the graded one.
yeah, yes,
Yeah.
the graded one was graded as loose. So
Yeah.
and I
That's,
mean, I have to say this one looked in really good condition in the
yeah.
pictures. So again, when I'd looked at this, I thought to myself, or maybe I should have put a couple of cheeky bids in myself because having a yak face is absolutely awesome, and
Yeah.
when I retire one day, it would be a good investment to have maybe.
Do you
But
not
yeah,
have two already?
well, I've got the original, not the original. Sorry, I've got the vintage collection, the modern day vintage collection
Right.
figures.
Okay.
This was a vintage Kenner figure.
Vintage.
Uh,
Right.
yeah. So when I know the newer cards that you see behind me have got Kenner written on them, but they're actually really Hasbro.
Gotcha.
So yeah, this would have been what 83, 84 figure,
Mm.
I guess, maybe 84.
So are there markings on there? Did they put the Kenner name on the figures as well? I don't know
No,
why I
but
always pronounce it really stupid when I say figures. Sorry, figures.
On the back of all of the old Kenner and Palitoy figures, and all the other countries had different names for companies that made them. They had the date embossed on the back of the legs
Okay.
usually, or the
Mm.
yeah, on the leg at mostly, to be honest with you. So you had a date
Mm.
of when it was produced, and I'm fairly sure that you had the country of origin, like Hong Kong, was written on the back of them.
Gotcha.
So there are a lot of people who create recreations of the original figures
Mm.
these days, but there are ways to tell if they're original or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that would be the main way I would be able to tell the difference. Obviously the modern ones look much better because the technology is much better nowadays to create
Yeah.
something that looks more lifelike. But yeah, so short story short, that was a really good deal. I thought that guy got.
Yeah, it sounds
So
like it.
yeah,
Keep your eyes peeled on eBay then, because that's probably going to pop up.
possibly. But as I say, you may well have just wanted
Wanted it for his
to-
collection.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, for a lot of lots, and I watched every single one of the Star
Hmm.
Wars lots, the same numbers were coming up at the end when they said who'd won it. So I think there was a
Okay.
couple of, maybe 2 or 3 really big buyers in there who were really supplementing their collections,
Yeah.
as you'd expect. Yes, but I do remember when the auction was announced, I thought, oh, this is a really local auction. Hardly anybody's going to know about this.
Yeah, and then it goes online, and then
Yeah,
everyone's got
that's right.
access.
But they reported it on BBC News as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Did it say like how many people were in the auction bidding?
I did look. I couldn't see anything.
No.
You're right. That normally does come up, but I couldn't see
Mm.
anything at all saying how many people were watching.
Could have been a fair
Yeah.
few then, I expect.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you yourself, you did bid, and you did win a few, didn't you?
Yeah. I bid for. I did what they call an auto bid, where I put my maximum amount on 9 lots. And most of those were completely wiped out pretty early on.
Yeah.
But I did manage to win 2 lots by auto bid.
Wow. Yeah.
And they went for a lot less than I auto bid, so that was good.
Great, yeah.
And I had to up my bid on another lot to go a bit higher because that was the one I really wanted. It was a selection of vintage collection figures.
Okay.
And another lot came up, and no one was bidding for it. And I thought, well, it'd be rude, wouldn't it, not to buy it, because he was literally going to put the hammer down as unsold. So I just quickly put a £10 bid in and won it. So
amazing.
Yeah, so that's always good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great.
Cool. And we are going to talk about those in the next episode. We're going to see what you've picked up. I don't know. So, you have sent some pictures over. You sent a job lot picture. I might put that up now. But I haven't zoomed in or anything, so I don't know what's in there. I just saw a hell of a lot of like figures in cards and whatnot. So I'm excited to find out as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I've mentioned the vintage collection already, so
yes.
Someone might be thinking of starting a collection, so someone might have a few that he could instantly have to bolster his numbers.
Oh yeah, I mean, add to this one up here maybe. I don't know. Yeah, cool. So catch us next time where you can find out everything that Martyn won at auction. I'm quite excited. I don't know about you. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the like button. If you're listening, rate and review us. 5 stars would be great.
Please subscribe.
And subscribe to the channel. Like everything. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.
Take care.